Hey, how's it going? I'm Tim Jones, and welcome to another edition of View from the Bleachers. This is my co-host for today, Chompers. He's my pet Tyrannosaurus. And, oh my God, it's feeding time. Don't want to go too long without feeding the old boy, okay? Yeah, there you go. Good. Well, where was I? My topic for this week is college reunions. And that's because, well, not long ago, I returned from my 40th college reunion. And it was an amazing experience, reconnecting with so many people that I have not seen or cared about in decades. Now, you may be asking, what college did I attend? Well, if you had guessed Harvard University, well, then clearly you have not been tracking my career progress very closely. But you'd actually be very close because, in fact, my own alma mater shares several letters in common with Harvard, including a V, an R, an A, and the entire word university. Actually, I went to University of Virginia. I have no idea where Chompers went. That's the main rotunda building behind me, where much of our reunion took place. And I have to say, my reunion went, well, surprisingly well. I'll explain why on the other side. Welcome back. One thing I've always preached to my daughters is the importance of being authentic and to be proud of who you are, which can be a challenge at times when you look in the mirror and stare back at a humor writer. To be honest, I was a little anxious about seeing all my college cronies. Oh, sure, I've had my share of achievements since I graduated, like I have never once been convicted of a major felony, or the fact that I'm a published author of a book that has sold roughly 100,000 copies, if you round up to the nearest 100,000. Some of my classmates had not aged very gracefully. In fact, there was this one dude who had really aged badly. And then I realized I was looking at my reflection. Very ego deflating. So I arrived at the reunion's opening reception, and the first person that I bumped into was Brett Farnsworth. That's a photo I took of Brett. Man, look at all that gray hair he has. Not to mention all that hair he has. I told him I do humor videos. As though he were experiencing an adverse Pavlovian reaction to the phrase humor videos, Brett abruptly excused himself, proclaiming that he had to step away for a phone interview with CNN to discuss his role spearheading NASA's manned flight program to Mars planned for 2022. Next, I ran into Richard Brantley. This is a photo of Richard trying to estimate his net worth to the nearest 10 million. He lived just 2 doors down from me in my first year dorm. And I'll never forget his words on seeing me. Tim, wow, I barely recognize you with your weight gain. And when did you lose so much hair? I started feeling a little bit self-conscious, but I tried to be polite, asking him, well, what had he been up to in recent years? Oh, nothing much, he said. Same old, same old. I'm still the senior vice president of global strategy for Apple. What about you? A nagging feeling was mushrooming inside me that my career accomplishments might not stack up to those of my fellow alums. So in an attempt to preserve my rapidly crumbling self-esteem, I went into improv mode. Well, since you asked, I was recently promoted to Executive Senior Vice President of International Brand Management for P&G. That's Procter Gamble. I just flew in from our Geneva manufacturing facility just for the reunion. Okay. So I lied. Sue me. I just didn't know how to make "I write humor articles about being a bad parent" sound impressive. On the one hand, I felt badly about the ruse, but on the other hand, Richard was clearly awed by how I engineered a 5% gain in market share in our consumer brands division in my first quarter on the job. So much for my plans on being authentic. Next in line to humiliate me was Beth Yates, a girl I dated briefly in my sophomore year. That is until I foolishly revealed that I was a communications major. This is Beth today. She's done all right, I guess. At the reunion, it took her less than 60 seconds to casually mention that she was a nationally recognized heart surgeon at Johns Hopkins Medical Center. Apparently, Beth had patented some heart valve that has saved over 5,000 lives, which is truly a remarkable deal. In fact, it's almost as remarkable as my research as chief of oncology at the Mayo Clinic. Did I happen to let it slip that my pioneering discoveries have saved 6,000 lives? You bet I did. She asked me to describe my methodology, but unfortunately, just as I was about to explain, my phone buzzed. Excuse me, it's Norway calling, something about the Nobel Prize. The words just flowed. And they sounded so much cooler than, well, it's my podiatrist confirming my appointment to treat my toe fungus. You see these guys? That's Carl Tillotson and Harold Galbraith. They were classmates of mine. I learned that Carl and Harold are both CEOs of their own companies. They sit on several boards and they own 5 houses and 3 private jets between the two of them. But I'm pleased to report that they both had extremely messy divorces and their kids no longer speak to them. Yeah, that really helped me feel much better. So things were going quite well, I have to say. People seemed to be really impressed by my many previously unknown accomplishments. Well, Conrad Maris, for example, who I learned was the U.S. ambassador to Denmark. He was so surprised to hear that I had recently negotiated a treaty of peace between Slovakia and Bosnia-Herzegovina, especially since he wasn't even aware that the two countries were adversaries. Personally, I was just impressed that I could remember there was a place called Bosnia-Herzegovina. Then there was Lizzie Van Engstrom. She's currently a tenured professor at Yale Law School, and she was unfamiliar with my recent promotion to Dean of Stanford Law School. I sure hope Stanford has a law school. And then there's Sally Vanderbilt, who is now the head of an NGO building a water purification plant in Uganda. She was equally taken aback to hear that I was in the final stages of creating a hybrid wheat-rice seed that would eliminate hunger in Africa within 15 years. She congratulated me on my pioneering work, but I told her that my incredible team of Ugandan scientists deserved most of the credit. What a dedicated team they are. It turns out that I appear to have achieved far more since college than I had realized. Oh, sure, I hear what you're saying judgmentally. But Tim, you were just making all this stuff up. But in my defense, hey, is it just me or is it really humid in here? Well, as a result of my stellar performance at the reunion, I have been invited to be the keynote speaker at an upcoming conference on clean energy solutions for developing nations. Of course, I don't know anything about that topic either. I'll just Google it. As I headed home from the reunion, I felt a little uneasy that I had not been totally authentic about my life over these past 40 years, and I had spent most of my time at the reunion just making up far-fetched stories. But then I thought, hey, as a humor columnist, that's what I do. I'm a professional storyteller. So in a way, I was just doing my job. Well, I have to wrap up. I'm scheduled to have a conference call with former classmate Bronson Wellington. That's Bronson. When he's not coaching the U.S. Olympic equestrian team, he's Assistant Deputy Secretary of State. And he heard at the reunion that I may have some game-changing ideas on the Middle East problem, and he wanted to tap my expertise. I'm just flattered that he thinks I might be able to help. Well, that's the view from the bleachers. Perhaps I'm off base. I'm Tim Jones, and remember, if you like this video or simply feel sorry for me, please click on the subscribe button below and share this video with your friends or anyone you'd like to annoy. For more of my humor, you can visit my website, viewfromthebleachers.net. And well, I have to go now. You see, my 45th reunion is coming up in just a couple years, and I think I'd better start thinking about making up the next chapter of my incredible career while I still have time. Hey, buddy, have some more. Good boy, good boy, good boy.